Welcome back to the Cinnamon Effect. I'm Kimberly Hand, and today I have Lani Scozzari back in the studio. Lani was here. She was on episode number 5. So if you haven't listened to that, you got to go back and give that a listen. That was a really good one. Navigating Life with a Resilient Heart was good the title.
Yeah.
So good.
So good.
Lani is a writer, a poet, a dancer, a mother, a parenting coach, and relationship coach. She is a swim instructor for little ones for a long time, over 20 years, right?
Almost 30.
I feel like you learn a lot. A teacher. I mean, I don't think there's anything you haven't done, Lani.
I don't know that much about changing tires.
Oh, me neither, actually.
Other than that, yeah.
I had a couple flat tires in my life, and actually like kind of recently, and I'm like, what's going on here? It always seems this is going to get really woo-woo for a second. Great. But I do feel like I have gotten flat tires at very poignant places in my life.
Oh, wow.
And I only say that because I've been able to like go back and reflect on these flat tire incidents. They just seem like very, and I'll explain. One was I was going to like a big audition, and I got a flat tire on the way there. Oh. And so it was like very, dramatic of a situation, right? So I don't think I'd gotten a flat tire again until I was in Montana. I went on a solo trip, like embarking.
Oh, I remember this story.
Yeah, like out in the world, right? And I get a flat tire when I'm traveling solo, which is something I've never really done, right? So I got a flat tire then. The third flat tire was about a year ago. I had actually made a decision to kind of do something, and it felt like a very like big moment. And we went out to celebrate, and I got a flat tire that night.
Going or coming?
Leaving, like the celebration. And I was like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah, we never know.
I don't know.
It's important not to ask why.
Yeah. I mean, that was such a tangent, but
I like it. I get it.
Tires.
Well, I think the story where you were alone in Montana was a big significant event about like taking space and making space for you and doing something that felt really scary, but you knew it was really important.
Yes.
And you had to navigate a lot. So
yes,
everything in that entire story and that last sentence I just said is pretty much everything I do. So
yes,
I get it.
That is what you do. That is what you do.
Or at least attempt to do.
Yeah.
Practice doing.
Well, it felt like a really important time to have you back on the show because we just did a retreat. You just hosted a retreat and I was a guest.
You were there.
I was there. And it was in North Carolina. Yeah. And we kind of spoke about it, last time that you'd already had a group, and I mentioned that one person had gone on the retreat, and I was like, what was, what was it like? Tell me more. And she was like, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
And I think I would say kind of that as well. It's kind of hard to explain. Like if you've never gone on a retreat before, you don't really know what to expect. You don't know who is going to be there. You don't know what their background is. You don't know. Or at least in my case, like I think some people, I could actually think of a couple of my friends that if they were going on a retreat, they would want to know everything about everybody, everything about everything that was going to take place. Mm-hmm. I am not that way. Yeah. I am like,
and doesn't it seem like in the few that I've done, and even in my workshops, everyone that sort of arrives there is like, just like what you're describing in the sense that they don't know.
Yeah. They don't know. So tell me, do some people say, okay, Lani, who's going to be there? No. So a lot of people are just very trusting.
Yeah. I think that's because that's where I kind of enter the work from. I'm like, this is what I hear that I'm supposed to be doing, and it's not going away, and it's still not going away. Okay. This idea is not going away. Okay. What's the next step? Okay. Really? Okay. I'll invite that person. Okay. I'll reach out to that person. I'll ask them. And no one really, even in my workshops, no one really asks me any questions about it. I'm always astounded, but I see that that's kind of the way that I'm willing to trust.
Yeah.
Maybe it's willing.
you're willing to trust, but I think people are really willing to trust you.
Aw.
And I'll say, like, I feel like those of you don't know Lani. A lot of you probably do. A lot of you reached out saying you love the podcast. You know Lani, you know me, but Lani, I feel like it's so easy to trust you. You just lead with your heart, and you're very authentic, and you're very, you're like, I got you. You know, I just feel like when I'm around you, like you got me, like you know, and you do that for so many people. And so I want you to know that, because I know the other ladies
like crying the first time.
Don't cry.
I really
don't cry.
feel that what you're saying. I really feel that.
Well, it's like your mark, you know, is that you've got people, and you're there, you're so supportive, and it's like whatever you're going through, it's like Lani, superhero Lani has got you.
I won't tell my husband or my sister that. They get sick of hearing people say that.
Do they? They probably do a little, right? They're like,
they tease me
oh,
about
someone's
it.
coming to gush on Lani right now.
Oh yeah, what, you really love Lani? Okay, great. But like in response to that, I do think it's really important that I think part of that, or at least this is my thought on, is that I have to constantly like be in check about what belongs to me, what is me, and then how can I kind of show up so that doesn't, I do love people, and I do love understanding people, and I work every day to understand myself and kind of hold space for myself. And so that's where I offer it from. So it's taken me a long time to even think that actually does have something to do with me. It's only in the last few months that I've kind of been able to like actually integrate that understanding. Whereas normally I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I just do what's asked of me. Doesn't really have to do with me. Yeah. I just show up. And I'm just kind of now at, 45 going, okay, yes, all of that stuff is true. Yes, I'm showing up and being a channel, and I'm like open to and receptive to what I'm hearing and what's in front of me. And there's also a part of that like keeps doing it. And so maybe there is a part. So I'm practicing really hearing your words and holding them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Accepting that compliment.
Exactly.
Because it's yours, baby.
I love it. And don't we always want to just, my response is like, well, I just want to give like compliments to, you and to the other women and other families and students that I've had, and I don't think I'd know anything without you all. So, yeah,
I love that. You really lead from your intuition of, like you were saying, because you mentioned that to me before. Oh, I'm just listening and hearing who it is I need to reach out to invite. Right?
Yes.
How does that come through for you?
It's sometimes I am giggling at it. I usually one of my practices is I meditate with my husband each morning. And that's a new practice in the last, I'd say 2 years, and really forcing myself just to sit in stillness and whatever arises, just kind of be with it. And usually my ask, which is one of my teaching principles, and we talked a lot about that, but like, help me know what is mine to do. Help me do what is mine to do, and help me let go of the rest. And that's what I usually start each day asking that. And I'll say, okay, like, what do I need to do? I have, this retreat coming up. This fall, I actually took the huge step of actually doing 2 retreats in October. I have 2 fall retreats lined up. And I just kind of sit there and go, well, show me the magic.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of like follow this light, and I hear Kimberly Hand.
Me.
Or I hear, somebody else. And it's like, I'm like, I haven't talked to that person in like 15 years. And it's like, no, reach out.
Wow.
Reach out. And I'm like, okay. And so I just kind of listen, and I have quite a long list. So if I'm reaching out for the second or third time, that's because your name keeps coming up to me. Yeah. And I don't know why, but something's there. So
I do think there's so much in that, like just in general for anyone, like no matter what you're doing, if someone's name keeps like popping into your head, there's like a reason why you're thinking about them.
Yeah. Or if there's a reason, you keep thinking, oh, I should check the, garage door, and we're too busy to do it because we have so many other things, and on and on and on and on. And just go check the garage door.
Yeah.
It's okay to stop for a second and just pay attention. I have to do that often. Just pay attention.
Yes.
It's okay to stop and pay attention.
And that does come from, like, I think because you're able to settle your mind into meditation. And I actually just took a workshop I turned 44 a couple of weeks ago, and I took a 1-week meditation workshop.
Oh.
And what the instructor was telling us was like, don't, you think you've got to push out the thoughts, but really don't push out the thoughts. The thoughts are coming in. That's actually your body like releasing stress is when those thoughts come in. And, take them in the scope of like your reality of, does this make sense in my real life? Like if you're like, and I was asking her, I'm like, if a horse keeps coming up, like in my meditation, am I supposed to like start horseback riding or like go buy a horse or like what, what's it? She's like, take it within the scope of your like existence and your reality. But yeah, just like stop and listen
and notice and just notice. And when I don't know what it means and when I don't know what to do, I try not to do anything, and I try to just listen more closely. It will come. Yeah. It comes, even if it takes years.
Will you revisit what you were just saying? Because it stuck with me, and actually let me know what is mine to do. You say.
So I say, let me know what is mine to do, or help me know what is mine to do. Help me do what is mine to do, and help me let go of the rest.
That is so powerful. And I'll say, like, just hearing that in retreat and then practicing that more.
Yeah.
Let me know what is mine to do.
Right.
I don't have to, and as a mom, we all want to do everything for everybody, but we don't have to do that. Right. And like, it's so like, it's almost a breath, like a deep breath.
It is. And I do it, for years, but I ask that. Like sometimes it's like maybe 300 times a day.
Oh.
Help me know what is mine. Help me know what is mine. Help me know what is mine.
Because superhero Lani could take over at every moment.
We have these things that we think we're really good at. My husband and children definitely keep me in check with that. And they say, I had my oldest daughter tell me one time, listen, you're not in a classroom right now, Mom. It's just me. It's just me right here. Yeah. My 16-year-old. Just talk to me.
Who is sitting here?
Well, this was not to this one. This was to her sister.
Oh, to her sister.
Yes, my youngest daughter here who just turned 15.
Oh, she's your younger daughter? Oh my gosh, she looks like such a beautiful woman.
I know. She's grown up. But she's taught me, is how to be still and how to stop. And that when I said pay attention, this young woman has taught me how to pay attention, because sometimes with this one, especially when she was little and we were getting out the door and I was teaching and had to be at work on time and get everybody and do all the things and lunch boxes and conferences, all the, like whatever, the brain is crazy with what we have to do. And she would find a centipede between the 3 feet of the front door.
Oh my gosh.
And the car door. And she would just be completely enamored and so incredibly curious. And I had a choice, and it showed up every day. She showed up every day in that capacity. And I would think, okay, Lani, you have a choice. We can pass this moment. We can rush through this moment. You could push her through this moment, or you could pay attention. And so she really helps me be curious, that 15-year-old over there.
Oh, I love that.
To stay curious. She also teaches me how to stay in wonder and astonishment. It's so humbling, right? We have so much to do. I have so much to do. I always think about, this is reminding me how if as a parent or as a mother, if I'm not going to be the one that pauses with her and I watch her watch this centipede, like I'm being I'm being gifted that opportunity. If I don't listen to her, if I don't sit with her, if I don't, be still, who else is going to do that with her?
So true.
It gives me chills.
So true.
And I really have to say that to myself. I really have to say, like, Lani, stop, Lani.
Yeah.
If you're 3 minutes late, you're not the most important person in the entire world. Life is going to go on. But right now you can stop and, notice the dew that's on this flower and how there's 3 butterflies today. And yesterday there were 2. So that's my gift one of my gifts from that girl over there.
Oh, I love that. She's so cute and looks just like you. But it's true. Like we do help our children. Well, they help us see the world, right? But if we are too rushed, then we're showing them that they can't stop and take in that beauty, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I always think, like, what is it that I want for my children? What is the world that I want them to create for themselves within the chaos of this world that we live in? I want them to know that they can, like, return home into a space inside themselves. And that's how, if I'm asking them to do that, how are they going to do that if I can't do that?
Yeah.
And I think that's the foundation of all my work, really paying attention to the self. And when we do that, other people can learn or not learn, but at least we're giving them the opportunity to do that. I think we had moments in the retreat, and I think, like, such powerful moments. And then I'm thinking about one in particular when and I will say, like, one of the things that I love about what's kind of happened in this workshops and also retreats, and is that it's a variety of ages. Did you like that?
I did.
Yeah.
I did love that.
Yeah. It's pretty powerful, and it's connected to, in Montessori classrooms, I explain this, but in Montessori classrooms, which is a lot of my background, it's mixed ages. And there's so much value in being with people who are at different ages and stages of our lives, because we think, once we get through toddlers, we don't have to go back, or once we get through teenagers, or even when we have adult children. And there's so much to learn from people who have adult children and who have walked this. And there's so much for, the women that were there that do have adult children to learn and to do and to heal in some capacity, even for their grandchildren and great grandchildren. The work never really stops. So, but I'm thinking about one particular moment how magical it is to just kind of feel what the work feels like, and to really, really practice, like, as a collective. Thinking about one of the women who shared something with our group that, she had not shared really with anyone, and how all of us in that room really created and held the container for her experience, and how deeply impacted every single one of us was. She might have thought she was the most impacted, and I actually don't. I don't even know if that's true. I will never forget that moment and what that literally, like, felt like in my body, and to have all of us in that space to kind of hold that container.
Yes. It was intense, is one word to describe it, but it was brave. It was so brave of her to share that with everybody.
Yeah.
And, it not to compare, but when you put it in the scope of your own life, I think it's natural to be like, we all have these unique experiences, right? And you may go into something and think, this is really small compared to what some people are dealing with, right?
Yeah.
But I think the whole exercise of hearing everyone else's stories, and you really are such a great facilitator of that, because I think you made everyone feel really comfortable in sharing. And I think, a lot of things were really deep and dark and scary and sad. And, and you're sharing it amongst basically people that were strangers when you walked in the door, a day prior, right? There's something so beautiful about that. And also, and I don't know if if maybe she feels that way. I just felt like, whatever it is, we can get through this, right? It's kind of, I feel gratitude, even though, I've had hard things, but I feel gratitude for my experiences and learning from these. And I feel like hearing other people's experiences, I can get through this, was kind of the sentiment in my head.
I think what you said about not comparing is so important. We often will minimize our experience because we think, oh, it's not so bad. And, oh, it could be so much worse, which I think is helpful because it can kind of get us out of a state of victim.
Yes.
Yet it's also so important to remember that whatever my experience is in this particular moment is mine. And it doesn't, it may be very different for anybody sitting next to me, even if we've in the same exact experience. I know one of the participants who's had a lot going on, one of my really dearest friends of my life. And I think she said that to one of the participants, and this is my friend Leah Carver, who is one of my just best friends and teachers too. And she says to me often, she says, my experiences, my trauma or my, things that have happened to me don't negate yours. Just because maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, somebody might say mine are a 10 and yours are a 1. It's not how it works. It's just my experiences don't negate yours, which I think is so important. When we're dealing with, we're talking about the group and understanding that I actually have a place here. Whatever I'm showing up with, I have a place here. We're kind of talking about a little bit about imposter syndrome too. And to a degree, what is my value? And we might not know it, but just being in the space, just saying yes to whatever, we are experiencing instead of saying, oh, it's not so bad. No, Lani, that was really uncomfortable and that was really hard for you. And there's a way to navigate it, because we're all fallible.
Yeah.
We're all fallible and we don't know forward. We don't, backwards, we don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, I love what you said about, not in the comparison, which is what we want to do. Our ego wants to compare and say, oh, well, I have nothing to complain about. And what I find is when I'm talking to people and when they share more, I'm like, okay, that's really pretty substantial. Wow, I really felt like that. I felt that. And that's so validating, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Yeah. It could seemingly seem tiny. I think we do that with children a lot, or maybe I'm perhaps guilty of even doing that with my husband. Why is he complaining? Why are you not grateful? And it's well, back up, hold on. You're not the judge of all good and bad. You are not God, Lani.
Right.
They're just having their experience. You don't have to agree with it. I don't have to disagree with it. I just have to say, okay, hey, they're really feeling a lot of feelings right now. And, that's okay. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Be quiet, Lani.
Let me know what is mine to do.
Exactly. So good, Karen.
I'm learning.
You already know. I just reminded you. That's what I like to say is I just reminded you. Yeah. I was just thinking about how much we want to make things better for other people.
Yes.
So Kimberly has a little cough.
Yeah.
And she was just coughing. And I told her, I'll wait for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to fix it. I'm not going to try to, get up and get you what you need. I'm just going to sit with you here.
Yes.
You're going to work it out.
I'm going to work it out.
I don't have to fix it.
If the voice sounds just like an octave lower, it's, I'm just recovering from this cough that I have had. So end of the year bug. So we had to cut.
Yeah.
Typically we don't cut that much, but we had to take a little cut.
All right. We took a pause.
We're back. That's so important. Again, let me know what is mine to do. You just let me do my thing.
Yeah. Especially I always think that we think it's our job to fix our children. I hear that especially in workshops, but one-to-one work with people, they bring in a list of things that are wrong with their kid. They're they do this and they do this and the teachers are saying this about them. And when I do this is what they're doing. And you can already hear it in their voice that it's I can't fix this. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make it better. I don't know how to make it better. And so much of the time it's stepping back and just being still in it and knowing that our primary job is not to fix our children or our spouse.
Yeah.
Or our students.
Yeah.
Or the person in front of us. We don't have to fix them.
I saw something that was talking about how someone was talking about helping a butterfly come out of the cocoon.
Oh.
And saying like, no, if you help a butterfly come out of the cocoon, it completely messes it up. You could actually kill the butterfly, right?
Yeah, we do it constantly.
Yeah.
We're in a, you know, I was thinking about how it's not really a question of like if, fear, doubt, uncertainty, crisis, trauma. It's not an if that's going to happen in our lives. It's really a question of like, when is that going to happen and what degree? And, you know, and am I prepared? Are my children prepared? Is my marriage prepared? Like, do we have a foundation to be in that? And because there's so many things. I mean, I've been in situations, especially in particular with grief and loss and tragic loss. I can't fix it. And we equate fix with changing. I equate fix with changing. And, you know, the loss that I'm speaking of is something that I won't ever be able to fix that, because the only way I could fix it was to have made it not happen. And it's already happened. And so I think about that a lot. Like when fear and doubt and uncertainty and crisis happen, do I have what I need to navigate? Have I paid attention to myself closely enough? Have I paid attention to my children? Have I paid attention to my marriage? And then ultimately I say to myself again, have I paid enough attention to myself to navigate for myself and to help the people around me also navigate it without fixing it? Because until you have something you cannot fix, I don't know if I really even knew that, even though I'm very hands off, but I don't know that I really knew that before this.
Do you think that's just leading with example, like leading by example?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it really is. And I think it's a constant practice, you know, and having enough tools in your toolbox and to be working at it and I love like understanding myself. I love understanding people. Like I could just, you know, I could talk about it forever. I could think about it. So I'm so curious. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And I understand that that's not the case for everybody. Though I do think that if we make space for that, we are all pretty wise.
Yeah.
We're all pretty wise. And if we only just like make space and have the capacity to look closely and to listen. You talked about the friend that was there that was so brave. And we talked about this, you know, like my concept of bravery has to do very much with doing something that feels really scary, but not just doing it because it's scary, but doing it because you know it's gonna make it better in some way, or that it's important to do, you know. And sometimes that is asking of me to just be quiet. Sometimes being brave is just being quiet.
Yeah.
And saying, oh my gosh, I really want to make this better for my child. I really want to make this better for my friend. And I don't know how. So I'm just going to be still and just nod my head.
Brave enough to listen and hold space.
Brave enough to listen and hold space. Yeah.
Holding space is hard.
It is hard. What do you think?
It can be hard.
It's a practice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we want to make it better. We want to you know, I think as particularly as women, maybe men too, but I think women are so good at doing so many things and checking things off of our to-do list. You know, I tell the story, like at one of the retreats, like I had a bee that stung my foot like immediately.
Oh yeah.
In our first like get together, and like all 12 women like jumped up. One was halfway to like the, you know, first aid kit in the other room. And they were like in my face, like, somebody pulled an EpiPen out of their purse. It was like, the ultimate, like, women can make this, like, let's figure this one out, like, sort of a thing. And it was such a profound teaching moment for me to be able to say, like, okay, everyone just sit down.
Yeah.
Just sit down. I understand you want to make this better for me, but do you hear what happened when you just asked me 500 questions? When you bombard me with questions, you're interrupting my opportunity to learn, to know what's happening to myself, to notice myself. I don't know if I need a EpiPen. I don't know if I need a Band-Aid because you haven't even given me the time and space to look at my foot. And we do that, like, right as moms, because we're like, want to make it better. And it comes from such, like, a beautiful, loving place, our motherness, right?
Yeah.
And yet when we bombard another person with questions when they're having their experience, what we're really making it about is us. So what happens when you could just sit back? There was one woman in the group that just completely was still, and she was just waiting for me to let her know what I needed.
Wow.
And she's an amazing occupational therapist who works with children. And so she's practiced it. Mm-hmm. She's practiced having people have crisis and just trusting that, you're going to let me know. I'm going to be here. You're going to let me know, Kimberly, when you need me to do something more. Mm-hmm. I'm going to know, but I don't have to inject myself into your experience because I think I can make it better. Mm-hmm. But we do it all the time with children.
Yeah. I'm learning that was a big thing in the retreat that you talked about, I think. And I took a lot from that.
Yeah. That's good to know. I love feedback.
Yeah. No, another thing, I actually have my journal here.
I saw. It's a very sweet little journal.
I mean, it's so sweet. I'm not going to like read from it, but there was one thing that I wanted to pull out that you said. It's actually on the first page. And it kind of reverts back to what you were saying a little bit ago, but you said you're in the constant pursuit of understanding yourself. Yeah. And I was like, yes. To me, I wrote it down. It was first thing in the journal that I wrote down.
Yeah. And say it again so I can hear you say it.
I guess I would say in the first person, I'm in the constant pursuit of understanding myself. Yeah. And that's how you said it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I feel like that is so much of my like personal mission is to understand myself, to understand this life that I've been given and where I'm at and how to evolve,
Yeah.
And I think like, I think that's so beautiful. And I think that's such a positive thing to talk about is just feeling into that. Like everyone to get to the next level, not even the next level. It's not even like you're trying to like move from where you're at right now. Right.
Just evolution.
Just be curious. Be curious about exactly right. yourself and your life and how you feel and how you want to move forward. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think you're so good at that.
Oh, I practice it. I've practiced it, I think, since I was born. My mom would probably agree with the 500 million questions I asked her and, constantly pushing and pushing and pushing. I was not the easiest child to raise. And I can really remember like really wanting to push her and to kind of break her open to really like her full potential, which I could only say in retrospect, except that that's what I felt in me. So that person in your life that like you feel like is just like, okay, back off. Like they're really trying to push, they love you enough to really show you, really push you. To understanding yourself. Because especially if we think about like our mothers, if our mothers understand themselves, like how much permission does that give us to understand ourselves? And when we do that, how much permission does that give to our children to understand themselves? It doesn't just have to be our children. It could be any relationship, but in particular, those really close ones or our partner. I don't think that we allow ourselves that much. We come into motherhood, and I don't know that we in general allow ourselves much time and space to learn about ourselves. Mm-hmm. Maria Montessori has a beautiful quote, which I'm kind of paraphrasing, but I must first, the mother, it's not enough to love the child. The mother must first love the universe. She must first understand herself. How am I to expect my children to understand what's happening with them if I don't understand what's happening with me?
Yeah.
And how can I create that how can I grow that inside myself so that, when you have an almost 18-year-old that's about to walk out of the house and do all the things and be in all the spaces that are so far away, so that girl can say, hey, this doesn't feel right. And I don't need to second guess myself. I already know enough about what feels right and what feels doesn't. This doesn't feel right. Let me make a different choice. Mm-hmm. So it's paying attention again.
Yeah.
And it is understanding. It is understanding the self and that, I guess the phrase, the constant pursuit, it's really never ending, which sometimes I get that question fairly often when I'm working with people and they're like, does this ever end? I'm like, sadly, no, but also, I try to catch myself with that, or I say, use the word but it's actually, and it never really ends. And it just can get better and it can change and it can grow and it's not going to end. It's not going to end, that there's like a container and a space for the whole experience that we can't fix.
Yeah. We don't want it to end. You don't want it to end.
But sometimes it feels like that, doesn't it, Kimberly?
Yeah.
Like in those moments that are really, really hard. And, if you think about even in the journey of mothering, like when things are really hard or your child is really suffering and how we think, oh my gosh, I would do anything to make this better for my child. We do want it to end. Or like the child that's a toddler that's having a temper tantrum, or sometimes like I've said things to Brian over our 20-year marriage. And really what I'm really saying is I just wish this feeling would end because this feels excruciating and this feels so hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do with it. And so I might say, you know what, I'm done with you. Like, I don't even want to be married to you. And of course, that's not what I really mean. What I really mean is this experience that I'm having feels so hard. Can I do this?
Yeah. You were very open. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
A little bit, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were very open with the group, and it was something that I've known you over 30 years, and I did not know.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking
yes.
about. I hold the details of that story to a very, very high sacred space.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I might have to say, if you want to know the details to that story, you might need to come to my retreat.
Yeah.
Well, I think,
and you don't have to talk about it.
No, but I do want to speak to it because I think, when we have these things when I have these things, and do you see what I did? I just put it in I'm going to talk about myself instead of saying what I think all of you need to do. But I've had, moments in my life where the world has a lot of ideas about what it should be and what it should look like and how I should do it or how I shouldn't do it. And, how do we quiet those voices and really pay attention? Here I am saying the word pay attention again to the space that lives within me so that I can become, I say the matriarch of my own self. Mm-hmm. How can I become the matriarch of my own self? Before I'm the matriarch of my family, how can I be the matriarch of myself? And I don't think it comes before family. And I don't think, I don't think this growth is like linear. I think it happens all in a mess and in turmoil and catastrophe and devastation. And in the sharing of my experiences, one of the things that I always hope that I can do is that I can show up, authentically, and then I can show up really messy, and I can show up and say, this was really, really, really fucking hard, if I'm allowed to say that. I've had some really god-awful shit that I walked through. And I am so far beyond perfect. It is such a mess. It is, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And what in that do I have any power over? Where do I have any agency? And from what I've learned is, one, in being honest, two, in vulnerability, admitting that I don't know, and then returning back to the self and saying, okay, well, what is mine to know? Mm-hmm. What is mine to know?
I think even I, going into it was like, Lani's got everything figured out.
No.
Because that's that.
I know. It's really, I think that's why I feel like sometimes I want to deflect a compliment, because it's like, I don't really know. Like, oh, that feels like a lot. I don't know. I hope not.
No, it just feels like when you did share with us some things that had happened to you in your life that were really, really difficult. And, it was almost like, if Lani can get through it, we can get through this, is like what I was thinking. And that gives a lot of hope, I think I'm still like comparing the situations, but it really does. Like I think you gave everyone a lot of hope in sharing your story, and everyone, we gained that from everybody. Also, I want to mention your mom, because your mom is so special.
So special.
And she was there.
Yeah.
And to see you both interact and talk about these deep things. She also shared some very traumatic things, that had happened to her in her experience. But, to watch you guys and to you even talking about your childhood and maybe some things that weren't, maybe it looked perfect, but it wasn't totally perfect, right? And to be able to talk so openly together like that was really inspiring to me.
Yeah, thank you.
To see that. And how did you guys get to that place where you could be that way and be so authentic?
I think we have to make peace again with ourselves in order to not feel shame, right? Because if I feel shame about an experience, I'm going to be a whole lot less likely to be able to sit in a space with another person about it, because essentially if I'm judging myself, I'm judging them. And so in order to do that, I think that I've had to reckon with my own sense of shame about my experiences or things that I've done or didn't do, and kind of make peace in some capacity, which I use that lightly because it's kind of mixed with forgiveness, but not entirely. And what I mean by that is not that it changes it, and not that it doesn't make it, horrific, and not that it, makes it all okay and perfect in any way, but really like sit with the, the messiness of it and say, I did the best I could. And I think, we come in with a lot to teach our parents, and our parents have a lot to teach us too. I always think that these kids that come in just know so much. And I don't know, my mom and dad, like both of them really my mom especially has given me so much permission. She said yes to so many things. And even when it felt really hard, I think for her, she said yes, because she knew it would be, I needed to do something. And it falls back to your quote, like that constant pursuit, the constant pursuit of understanding myself. And once I understand myself, and once I have clarity about a situation, then I'm not, when I go to share it, or when I go to talk to my mom about it, I'm not going to be all tied up in all of my like stuff, all of my like hijacked places. I'm going to be able to be in it from a place of like love and peace and understanding and clarity, right? Clarity. And I think when I show up in clarity, the person sitting before me gets permission to also do that. A lot of therapy. I mean, a lot of therapy. I always have somebody that's watching me and helping me. I almost always have in my life, and maybe it's one or two people, but that's so important. Like to take time and space to have somebody else that's like on your team that's going to like help you do this, like be educated, and that's one of the, I love so much teaching this work, because we kind of expect that we should know all this stuff. But how are we supposed to know all this stuff unless we're like, I always think like, I've heard this before, you probably have too, but like, here we are, we sign up for like, somebody's like, okay, you're going to have the most important job of your life. You're going to need to know everything. You're going to need to make last minute decisions. You're going to need to be in crisis. You're going to need to be in catastrophe. Here's a baby, 1, 2, 3, go. And we can only arrive with as much understanding as we have. And I've just always felt like it's my desire and curiosity, which compels me to know more and more and more and more, so that I can be, well educated for my job as a mother.
Yeah.
And my mom is she's a former Montessori student. She loves children and, just that curiosity I think she possesses. And
Wait, Montessori teacher.
she's a Montessori teacher. What did I say?
Student.
She is a Montessori student too. I think she would agree. The teacher is really the student. The student is the teacher.
I love that. Yeah. I was like, is that a slip or is
no,
that?
I love it. I kind of love that. I think it's probably from me. There's been things we've disagreed on. And when I've been in the midst of some really, really hard things, she had different ideas about how I should be doing it. And I can remember saying to her, this is me. This is what I'm doing. And you can be comfortable or you can be uncomfortable. And I'm just going to let you have that experience. I'm really okay if you're uncomfortable with how I'm proceeding. I'm going to just be okay with it because this isn't really about what you think I should do or what you think I shouldn't do. This is really about my own matriarchy, and that belongs inside of me. Yes, you gave me all of this and you can feel however you want to feel. And, I extend compassion and love to you. And if you're uncomfortable, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Which I think I'm okay, being uncomfortable with people.
Yeah.
Or being more comfortable with people being uncomfortable.
I think you are too.
I'm weird.
I think it's a gift.
It's kind of like a weirdo. Like I'm like, that's like a really weird, crazy thing. But it comes in practice. Like if I think about my work as like an infant and swim instructor or even as a teacher, like these kids are like, crying and yelling and having temper tantrums and all the things. I'm like, oh, they're just having an experience. I'm okay that you're feeling angry. I mean, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
So I try to, goes into other stages, in other areas of my life. So did I answer your question about my mom?
I want to talk on the subject of mothers. We had a journal prompt.
Oh.
And I think it was, what do you wish your mother knew about you?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I thought that one was, is probably the hardest one for me personally. And, here I went into it thinking, I'm going to have this different experience than everyone else, right? Mm-hmm. And it's going to be more difficult for me than everyone else is what I was like kind of telling myself. Mm-hmm. My relationship with my mom hasn't always been perfect. We've worked hard on it as well. But what I learned was, wow, there's a lot of emotion tied up in our relationships with our mothers.
So much.
Do you think that's a female, being all females and dealing with our mothers or, in relationship with our mothers? Like, I don't know. It was really pretty heavy. I felt like it was a really heavy
time. It's so beautiful what everyone said. Yeah. I can remember what you said.
Yeah. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
I think
it was messy. It was beautiful. We cried, we laughed, right? It was a lot. There was a lot.
Yeah. It was also interesting because what I ended up writing was very similar to what my mom ended up writing. I don't know if you remember that. I think I didn't read it, but almost like verbatim what my mom wrote.
Yeah.
I wrote. And I when we went back and compared it, what she was writing about was remembering some of her childhood experiences and trauma and what I wrote is that I wish she would remember those things. And she ended up writing about those things. It was really pretty cool. Do I think it has to do, well, I'm going to get this wrong, but I can see it in my head.
No wrong, right.
It's a quote. So, but how we carry the eggs of our great-grandchildren.
Okay.
That we're born with all the eggs we're ever going to have. And so that, our fetus, if they're female, also has those eggs. And so that it goes back and, over time and in lineage. And I think there's something about inhabiting, that quality. I'm careful about, and not careful, like tiptoe, but more like curious, like I don't maybe know. My husband asks me questions like that a lot. Like, do you think that's only particular to like women and their mothers? I think in some capacities, yes. But I also think if I could create a space, which is my hope down the road, that you know, we could have that same conversation, you know, with men and their fathers.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it would be pretty similar. I mean, like, really, what do we all want? It doesn't matter if you're like, you know, 45 or, you know, 2 or 15 or 16, male or female. Like, what do you really want? Like, you know, am I good enough?
Yeah.
Like, do you see me? Do you understand me? Do I make sense to you? And so I don't know that it's entirely exclusive to women.
Actually, now that I'm saying it, I'm like, what do you really, when you're in a relationship with anybody, a friendship, a partner,
Right.
A parent, a sibling, what do you want them to know
Right.
about you?
Yeah. It's probably
What do you wish they knew?
Probably usually pretty similar.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would probably say, like, I want people to know that I don't have it all figured out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to do it all. And I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm willing to figure it out. And I'm willing to show up in front of you in that. But I would say that's probably the case across the board. I would say that to my children. I do say that's kind of, you know, I start most of my work with that. The kind of my vow is that, you know, if you're looking for somebody to show you how to do it perfectly, like, I'm not your girl.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you know, we talked about that as a kid, you know, that I did all the right things. And I was, you know, the kid that was, you know, too anxious to feed herself and, you know, not eating and making myself throw up. And everybody just thought I had it all together.
Mm.
And so those things that we kind of hide in the darkness, how big they grow. But if we can bring them out into the light, if we're just like willing, if we're brave enough to kind of just like dig them up and hold them into the light, you know, sometimes the light illuminates their beauty. Sometimes it illuminates the darkness even more. At least they're in the light.
Yeah.
And then you find like the person sitting across from you that you thought was a complete stranger also just wants to know, am I good enough?
Yeah.
I always want to know that. Like the little girl in me, like, you know, even coming today, like, oh, I hope people like me.
Yeah.
Right.
And what did I say to you when you came in? I said, you were a fan favorite. I said, literally, I got so much feedback on Lani when you were here the first time.
Isn't that interesting though? And the sort of contrast and polarization of like external people's experience, you know, and what we have going on in our head and how, you know, I always feel like I'm trying to like bridge the gap. Like I want to see you the way that I want to see myself the way you see me.
Yes.
Like, would I be willing to like see myself the way that my daughters see me?
Yes.
Would I be willing to see myself? Like I always say that my husband kind of taught me, you know, helped me learn how to like love myself, which sounds cliche, but in essence, I mean, he's told me for however 20 plus years, like, oh, you're really beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's not even like I even needed that until I realized, you know, 20 years into it, like, oh, I'm willing to see myself in that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, what if we saw ourselves the way our best friends saw us?
Yeah.
How great would that be?
We would really think really highly of ourselves, you
Wouldn't
know,
we?
if we could. Like,
I'm thinking about your lifetime best friend, and like if you really could, like. So sometimes I try to just be like, okay, Lani, see yourself how like, you know, another person sees yourself, because if I can see it in you, like I'm looking at you. I mean, I said this in the first time they're sitting here across from you. Like to look into your eyes is like, I mean, they're so deeply magical. They're you're so beautiful, and it's so deep within there. And I think like, okay, am I willing to see myself in that way? Because if I can see it in you, I think I can probably recognize it if I just kind of turn around. I
see
a little
it in
bit.
you, and
see.
You know what's funny? Before you came back, I listened to our podcast again.
Yeah,
and I was like, we were so into each other's eyes. And you brought it up again because we talked about that before. And it's like, yeah, stop, look at someone deeply in their eyes. Yeah. You know, I think you taught me that. Aww. I think you taught me that this last time that we did this. You know, you can be vulnerable. I mean, you're sharing, I'm sharing, we're sharing together. You know, it's like, And when you're not trying to stuff something and keep it in the darkness, when you bring it out into the light, I think that's so much easier. You know, I think that in making friends now as an adult, it's like, you know, I'm kind of going to just lay it all out there for you.
Yeah.
You
it
know,
is what
like,
it is.
It is what it is at this point. Like 44, like, yes, I could change and I probably will and I will evolve. But like, if you want to be friends,
great.
We're going to like lay this out here and just, I'm going to be open with you and I'm not going to try and hide things. I'm not going to try and play games, first of all.
Yeah.
I ain't got no time for playing games.
Don't you wish you knew that when you were 15?
I do. We
talk about that a lot at home, girls, and they have a, you know, some beautiful perspective on that.
Yeah.
Like that person feels tricky. That means, okay, I don't have to participate in that. Like, what do I need to say yes to? And what do I just have to say? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to make it better. I don't have to change them. I can just say, okay, that's how they are.
Yeah.
I'm over here if something shifts. I've had to do that in my work though, where I really like feel compelled to like reach out after like, you know, and especially like in intense sessions or something, or be like, oh gosh, I really want to follow up on them, or I really want to check in, see how they're doing, see what they're thinking from a very curious place, and had to just kind of say, let me just stop and they'll come to me. So it's kind of like that with friends, I think, like, this is what you've got. You can let me know if I'm going to see if this works for me.
Yeah.
So far though, oh my gosh, I feel so like lucky in that way. Like, oh my gosh, these people that like all along, I've just like that, you know, I just as a teacher, so many people that I'm just like, oh my gosh. Wow,
Yeah.
Wow. And it doesn't always look like that. You know, I think I told a story about one particular student, or I have over time, that I just thought was really going to just destroy me.
Oh.
And eventually ended up, you know, teaching me so much. I say that about my first daughter. And if she were here, like, I really thought she was like really just put on the planet to torture me.
Well, maybe how you were with your mom.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Hi, Angela.
Hi, Angela.
Yeah, Angela Scozzari.
She's an incredible fiber artist as well.
Yes.
So she's just, and that's how cool is that she's a fiber artist and she started doing all of these things. She's 69 and she really just has made this, stepped into and leaned into this like massive wave of creativity and expansion and learning in her 60s, which, I mean, I don't know if you feel like this, but constant time pressure. Like, I should be better. I should have more, I should have books published. I have, you know, this to do. I have that to do. I should be, you know, and I just think, oh my gosh, like my mom's given me permission to know that there's more time. Mm-hmm. And she couldn't have been that. She couldn't have done what she's doing in her 40s or her 30s.
Right.
And that there's some profound things to walk through.
Yes.
Sometimes
I learned a lot from her.
Yeah. She's
And
really
you.
cool.
Oh gosh, it was just so magical. I tell people how they can find you, because I want to, you know, share your magic.
Oh, you're sweet. So I have 2 upcoming retreats in October. I have just a little bit of space left, and I have 2 planned for the spring as well. And I teach workshops that are happening for the summer. We're kind of laying low on that, but I do have like one-to-one work that I do with people. You can find me on my website at laniscozzari.com or follow me on Instagram. I'm having to be very brave with that. I do have to say that is like, how can I show up authentically?
Yes, it's hard.
It is hard. We've talked about that. So, but
I'm taking control of my own social media again.
I love it.
And
Every time I'm like, it's the same thing we're talking about. Like, I have followed you and thought, okay, she is doing this. Like, she's giving me permission to do this. Yeah.
And I've always been posting. It's always my words and my thoughts, but you know, it's a journey. That is a journey in itself. You know, you think you're going to like start a business or a podcast or retreats or like whatever. And then you're like, oh, and I have to do this whole other.
It's kind of like motherhood. I always think that like, okay, you think you're just going to like, wait, what am I going to do? Like,
like, what is this? Like, what does this require? This requires this. Okay. Do I really want to do it?
Yeah.
You know,
my thing with parents is I'm always like, I think you aren't really a real parent until you've like, you know, been in like a public pool and you're dealing with like vomit and like, like you're just like, oh my gosh, look at my life. Is this my life? And you're like,
my life.
This is my life. Okay. Those
My
like
son
moments.
just asked me this morning if he had ever pooped on me. And I was like, yes.
Exactly.
I mean, yes.
Until
I said, that's what being a mommy is.
Yes.
You get pooped on and it's okay. You know, and he started laughing. He loved it. He was like, this is the best.
Yeah. Getting pooped on and in various metaphoric ways too. Right.
Especially
for throughout their life. And as they become teenagers and their words get bigger and bolder and braver and, you know, just kind of saying, okay, this is just feelings.
Yeah.
We can do this.
We can do this. I want to end on one thing. Since this is the cinnamon effect, and the cinnamon effect is a metaphor for life, my metaphor for life, making life better, sweeter, healthier, more fulfilling. I want to know, what is your cinnamon effect? What makes your life just that much better? It could be anything.
Ooh, I should have a good answer for this. And I think I'm going to go back to what you said, the constant pursuit of understanding myself and giving permission to those around me to also do the same.
Love it. Love it. Perfect ending to round 2 for us, Lani Scozzari.
This is so fun. I could talk to you forever.
I know. We'll just have to do it again.
Fabulous.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Lani.
Right.
Appreciate you. I love being with you.
Too. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening. If you liked this episode, please rate, review, and share it with someone you love. See you next time on The Cinnamon Effect.